The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Mike Denton wheeled his mop bucket across the polished floor of aisle 14. Being a night shift janitor at the Walmart Supercenter in Lakeside, Michigan wasn't his dream job, but at 43, with 2 failed marriages and a GED, his options were limited. 3 months into the position, he'd settled into the rhythm of the overnight hours, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week, moving through the massive store like a ghost, while a skeleton crew of stalkers and a single manager kept the operation running until morning. Tonight marked his first shift alone in the cleaning department. His usual partner, Diane, had called in sick, leaving him responsible for all 180,000 square feet of retail space. The store had closed to customers at midnight, and now, at 2:37 a.m., the building held only 7 people: Mike, night manager Trevor, and 5 stalkers working in grocery and electronics. "You good handling the back bathrooms, Mike?" "Diane usually takes those," Trevor had asked during their midnight check-in, his eyes never leaving the inventory sheets on his clipboard. "No problem," Mike had answered, though he disliked the back bathrooms, located in a remote corner of the store near the automotive department, far from the night crew's usual activity. Mike finished mopping aisle 14 and checked his task list. Back bathrooms were next. He pushed his cleaning cart past sporting goods, through the garden center corridor, and into the quiet, dim section of the store where housewares met automotive. The overhead lights were set to 50% brightness in these unused areas, creating pools of shadow between the fluorescent panels. The first thing Mike noticed was the silence. Up front, he could always hear the stalkers' voices or the beep of pallet jacks backing up. Back here, the massive building seemed to absorb all sound. The second thing he noticed was the bathroom door, propped open with a small cardboard box. Strange. The doors should have locked automatically when the store closed. "Hello?" Mike called, pushing his cart forward. "Anyone in there?" No response. Mike approached cautiously, remembering stories from other employees about homeless people hiding in the store until closing. He'd never encountered one, but Trevor had warned him to call for assistance rather than confront anyone. "I'm coming in to clean," he announced, louder this time. Still nothing. Pushing the door wider, Mike immediately noticed the smell, a cloying, sweet odor he couldn't identify. Not waste or vomit, which he'd dealt with before, but something industrial. The men's room appeared empty, 4 stalls, 3 urinals, all unoccupied, but the handicap stall at the end was closed. Mike knocked lightly. "Maintenance," he called. "Store's closed. You can't stay in here." No sound from within the stall. Mike's hand hovered over his radio, ready to call Trevor, when he noticed something on the floor, a dark liquid seeping out from under the stall door. Not water, thicker. "Hello?" he called again, louder now, his heart beginning to race. The walkie-talkie crackled to life, making him jump. "Mike, you copy?" Trevor's voice, distorted by static. "Yeah, I copy," Mike responded, eyes fixed on the spreading liquid. "Need you at register 7. Someone spilled something. Can you come now?" Mike hesitated, staring at the closed stall door. "Trevor, I think there's someone in the back bathroom, and something's leaking from the stall." A pause. "What kind of something?" "I don't know. Dark liquid. Doesn't look like water." Another pause. "Stay there. I'll bring Kyle from security and we'll check it out. Don't open the stall." "Copy that," Mike answered, relieved he wouldn't have to investigate alone. While waiting, Mike noticed something else. Small handprints on the white tile wall beside the sink. Red handprints, too small to be an adult's, child-sized. His skin prickled with goosebumps. A child. Back here, At 2:45 in the morning? The bathroom door swung open, and Mike nearly shouted in surprise. Jesus, Trevor, you scared me. The night manager entered, followed by Kyle, a heavy-set security guard in his 20s. Both men noticed the handprints immediately. What the hell? Kyle muttered, moving toward the stall. Careful, Trevor warned, pointing at the dark liquid, which had spread in a 6-foot puddle. Kyle approached the stall door and knocked firmly. Security, come out now. Silence. Kyle nodded to Trevor, who positioned himself behind the guard. Kyle pushed the door. It swung open slowly, revealing an empty stall. What the? Mike started. The back wall of the stall was covered in more red handprints, dozens of them, all child-sized, leading up to an open ceiling vent. The toilet contained the source of the dark liquid, a thick tar-like substance that had overflowed onto the floor. Call the police, Trevor said quietly to Kyle. Now. While Kyle radioed the police from his security office, Trevor examined the scene more carefully, using a pen to probe the black substance. Don't touch that, he instructed Mike, who had stepped closer. This isn't right. Those handprints. Blood? Mike asked, his mouth dry. I don't know, but look at this. Trevor pointed to something partially submerged in the black liquid, the corner of what appeared to be a photograph. Using his pen, Trevor carefully fished it out. Both men stared at the image, a Polaroid showing what appeared to be the back room of their store, the employee break area. In the photo, someone had drawn red circles around the faces of 3 employees, Diane, Kyle, and Mike himself. What the fuck? Mike whispered. Trevor, what is this? Trevor's face had gone pale. When was this picture taken? You're wearing the blue uniform shirt. That's from orientation day, 3 months ago. The walkie-talkie crackled. Kyle's voice came through, tight with tension. Trevor, I've got the security feed up. There's someone in the store. Police are on their way? Trevor asked. Yes, but you need to see this. Camera 16 by Electronics. Stay here, Trevor told Mike. Don't touch anything. I'll be right back. Mike stood frozen in the bathroom, staring at the handprints. Who would bring a child into the store at night? Why the photograph? And what was the black substance still seeping across the floor? 5 minutes passed. 10. Trevor didn't return. Trevor? Mike called into his radio. Kyle, you guys copy? No response. Mike stepped into the hallway, looking toward the front of the store. The long corridor stretched empty before him, dimly lit and silent. He should stay put. Trevor had been clear about that. But the silence unnerved him. He started walking toward Electronics, moving as quietly as possible. As he passed housewares, he grabbed a heavy cast-iron skillet from a display. It wasn't much as a weapon, but it felt reassuring in his hand. The electronics department appeared empty when he arrived. TV screens on the display wall showed a loop of product advertisements, their glow casting blue light across the department. Trevor? Mike called, louder now. Kyle? A noise from behind the electronics counter drew his attention. A soft thump, like something being set down. Mike approached slowly, skillet raised. Hello? He peered over the counter and dropped the skillet in shock. Kyle sat slumped against the wall, eyes open, but vacant. Dark liquid, the same from the bathroom, covered his security uniform and pooled around him. In his lap lay an open laptop, its screen displaying what appeared to be security camera feeds from throughout the store. Kyle! Mike rushed around the counter and knelt beside the guard, checking for a pulse. Nothing. Kyle's skin felt strangely cold, as if he'd been dead for hours, not minutes. The laptop showed a grid of 16 different camera views. Mike scanned them frantically for any sign of Trevor or the others. Most showed empty aisles, until his eyes landed on camera 12, the employee break room. Trevor stood with his back to the camera, facing the 5 overnight stalkers who sat rigidly in plastic chairs. Something seemed off about their postures. Too straight, too still. Mike grabbed Kyle's radio. "Trevor, can you hear me? Kyle's down. I think he's dead. What's happening?" No response, but on the screen, Trevor's head tilted slightly, as if listening. He didn't turn or reach for his radio. A flicker of movement caught Mike's eye on another camera, camera 8, showing the back bathrooms he'd just left. Someone was there, a small figure moving quickly across the frame. Mike looked closer. A child. It moved awkwardly, jerkily, its motions unnatural. The laptop suddenly switched to a single camera view. The security office where Mike now knelt beside Kyle. The camera showed the back of Mike's head as he stared at the laptop. And standing directly behind him, a small figure. Mike spun around. Nothing there. Heart pounding, he turned back to the laptop. The camera still showed him, and still showed something standing behind him, a child-sized figure wearing what appeared to be a Walmart vest, its face obscured by shadows. Mike scrambled backward, looking frantically around the empty office. The laptop screen changed again, now displaying a message. "Night crew, special inventory required." Below it, a list of names. Kyle Brewer, collected. Trevor Simmons, processing. Diane Lesser, pending. Jessica Wu, processing. Amit Patel, processing. Robert Garcia, processing. Sarah Chen, processing. Michael Denton, pending. Mike's name, his full name, which wasn't on his name tag. The laptop screen flickered, then showed camera 4, the garden center emergency exit. The door stood open, darkness beyond. Mike didn't hesitate. He ran, moving as fast as he could through housewares, past sporting goods, toward the garden center. Behind him, lights began shutting off section by section, darkness closing in as he ran. The garden center loomed ahead, its greenhouse ceiling showing pre-dawn stars. 20 feet to the exit, 10 feet. Mike burst through the open door into the empty parking lot, gasping for breath. He ran another 50 yards before stopping to look back. The massive Walmart stood silent, all exterior lights now off, except for a single illuminated sign above the main entrance. In the glow of that sign stood 7 figures in a perfect line, the night crew. They stared in Mike's direction, unmoving, their faces visible even at this distance. Except they weren't faces anymore. Mike ran. He ran across the empty parking lot, across the access road, into the woods beyond. He ran until his lungs burned and his legs gave out. When he finally stopped, miles away, the eastern sky was beginning to lighten with dawn. Later that day, police responded to reports of a workplace incident at the Lakeside Walmart. Official statements described a carbon monoxide leak that had affected several employees. The store reopened after a 3-day closure. Mike never returned to claim his final paycheck. He left Michigan entirely, driving west until his car broke down in Nebraska. He works day shifts now at a small hardware store in Lincoln. He's changed his name, his phone number, his email. He's told no one about what happened that night. But sometimes, when restocking shelves, he'll find small handprints on merchandise that's just been delivered. Child-sized prints in a substance that looks like red paint, but doesn't wash off his skin for days. And sometimes, on the store's security monitors, he catches glimpses of figures in blue vests standing behind customers. Small figures that disappear when viewed directly. Figures that have been appearing more frequently lately. Last week, his manager mentioned they need someone to cover the night shift inventory next month. A special inventory, he called it, checking Mike's full name off a list while smiling too widely. his eyes never blinking. Mike gave his 2 weeks' notice the next day. He's driving south this time, hoping distance will be enough. But in his heart, he knows the truth. Whatever began in that Walmart bathroom 3 states away isn't confined to a single store. It's spreading through inventory shipments, through distribution networks, through the vast corporate system that connects thousands of stores across the country. And it knows his name, his real name, because he's still on the list, still pending. Jennifer Lawson needed paper towels, laundry detergent, and enough groceries to feed her 2 teenage sons through the weekend. Just another Tuesday errand run to the Walmart Supercenter off Route 17 in Meadowbrook, Pennsylvania. She'd made this same trip hundreds of times before, always during her lunch break from the insurance office where she worked as a claims processor. The store was busiest at this hour, just after noon, but Jennifer preferred the crowd to the eerie emptiness of evening shopping. She'd already filled half her cart when her phone buzzed with a text from her boss, Marla. Meeting moved up to 1:30. Need you back by then. Jennifer checked her watch, 12:22. She'd have to hurry. She quickly navigated to the household goods section, grabbing the cheapest paper towels and her usual Tide Pods. As she rounded the corner toward the checkout lanes, a sharp pain in her lower abdomen made her wince. The 3 coffees she'd downed to get through a mind-numbing morning of paperwork now demanded attention. The front restrooms always had a line during lunch hours, so Jennifer wheeled her cart toward the back of the store, where a second, less used bathroom sat tucked between the pharmacy and vision center. She'd discovered this quieter option months ago and considered it her secret Walmart hack. As she approached, Jennifer noticed the "Caution Wet Floor" sign propped outside the women's room door. She peered in cautiously. The floor looked dry, probably forgotten by the cleaning staff. She entered, relieved to find the place empty. The bathroom was smaller than the one up front, just 3 stalls and 2 sinks. Jennifer chose the middle stall, hung her purse on the hook, and took care of business. As she was about to flush, she noticed something odd, a small black circle about the size of a dime, positioned at the back corner of the stall wall, just above the toilet paper dispenser. She leaned closer. The circle appeared to be the lens of a tiny camera, embedded in the partition. Jennifer froze. A wave of violation and disgust washed over her. She quickly pulled her pants up and stepped away from the toilet, eyes fixed on the small device. It definitely wasn't part of the bathroom's standard fixtures. The lens seemed to be pointed directly at where someone would sit. She took out her phone and snapped several pictures of the device for evidence. Looking more carefully now, she could see where the wall material had been carefully cut to insert the camera, then sealed around the edges with something resembling caulk, painted to match the beige partition. Heart pounding, Jennifer exited the stall and checked the others. In the first stall, nothing. But in the handicap-accessible stall at the end, she found another camera positioned similarly, plus a second one higher up, facing the area where someone would stand. "Oh my God," she whispered, documenting these as well. She needed to report this immediately. Jennifer gathered her belongings and pushed open the bathroom door, nearly colliding with a young woman in a blue Walmart vest. "Sorry," Jennifer said automatically, then seized the opportunity. "Excuse me, I need to speak with the manager right away. There's something seriously wrong in this bathroom." The employee, her name tag read Ashley, looked concerned. "What's the problem, ma'am?" "There are hidden cameras in the stalls," Jennifer said. lowering her voice as an elderly woman shuffled past. I found 3 of them. They're recording people using the toilet. Ashley's expression changed from concern to something unreadable. Are you sure they're cameras? Sometimes the toilet paper dispensers have sensors. I've worked in an office building for 15 years. I know what a security camera looks like, Jennifer said firmly. This is illegal. I need to speak to the store manager and probably the police. Of course, Ashley nodded. Let me call my supervisor. She pressed a button on her handheld radio. Customer service needed at back restrooms, code 45. Jennifer watched as Ashley positioned herself in front of the bathroom door. We should make sure no one else goes in until management arrives, the employee explained. 2 minutes later, a middle-aged man in a white shirt and Walmart tie approached. I'm Dennis Harrigan, store manager. What seems to be the problem? Jennifer explained her discovery, showing Dennis the photos on her phone. His face darkened as he swiped through them. This is completely unacceptable. I'll call the police immediately and have our security team secure the area. He turned to Ashley. Lock this bathroom and post someone here until the police arrive. Dennis asked Jennifer to wait while he made the calls. As Ashley locked the bathroom door, Jennifer noticed a man in gray coveralls watching from near the pharmacy counter. When he saw her looking, he quickly turned and walked away. Who was that? Jennifer asked Ashley. Who? That man in the coveralls. He was staring at us. Ashley shrugged. Probably maintenance or a vendor. 10 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. Officer Ramirez, a woman about Jennifer's age, took her statement while her partner, Officer Collins, examined the bathroom with Dennis and someone from Walmart security. How long have you been shopping at this location, Ms. Lawson? Officer Ramirez asked. Years, at least once a week. And you've used this particular restroom before? Many times. Those cameras weren't there last week. Officer Collins emerged from the bathroom, his expression grim. We've got at least 5 devices in there. Professionally installed, wireless, probably broadcasting to somewhere nearby. Jennifer felt sick. How many people used that bathroom before I noticed? How long have those been recording? That's what we need to find out, Officer Ramirez said. We'll need access to your security footage, she told Dennis. We need to see everyone who entered that bathroom today, and anyone who accessed it for maintenance in the past week. As they walked toward the security office, Jennifer noticed her hands were shaking. Her phone showed 1:15. She'd missed Marla's meeting. She called the office and briefly explained the situation. In the security office, 4 monitors displayed different areas of the store. A security officer named Kurt pulled up footage of the hallway outside the bathroom. Let's go back 24 hours, Officer Collins suggested. They watched as Kurt rewound the footage. Dozens of women and children entered and exited the restroom throughout the morning and previous day. Jennifer felt increasingly violated on behalf of all of them. Stop, Officer Ramirez said suddenly. There, 5:42 a.m. today. The grainy footage showed a man in gray coveralls, the same one Jennifer had noticed earlier, entering the women's restroom with a toolbox. He remained inside for 22 minutes. Maintenance staff? Officer Collins asked Dennis. The manager frowned. I don't recognize him. Let me check the schedule. After reviewing a document on the computer, he looked up, concerned. We don't have any maintenance scheduled for that bathroom today. Our regular guy, Phil, called in sick. Do you have a better angle on his face? Officer Ramirez asked. Kurt switched to another camera that showed the man's profile as he exited the bathroom. Jennifer gasped. That's him. That's the same man I saw watching us earlier. He's still in the store? Officer Collins was already reaching for his radio. I saw him maybe 15 minutes ago, near the pharmacy, Jennifer confirmed. What happened next unfolded with alarming speed. The officers radioed for backup, while Kurt scanned current footage for the man in coveralls. They spotted him near the garden center, apparently preparing to leave. "That's not an employee badge on his vest," Dennis noted, pointing to a card hanging from the man's pocket. "That's not our ID format." Within minutes, security personnel and police officers converged on the garden center. On the monitors, Jennifer watched as they confronted the man, who immediately bolted, shoving a display of potted plants into an officer's path. He almost reached the exit before being tackled by Officer Collins. While the police handled the suspect, Kurt continued reviewing footage. "He came in at 5:30 this morning, right at opening," he reported. "Walked straight to the back bathrooms. Then he did the same thing at 7:15 a.m. and again at 10:20. He installed them in stages," Officer Ramirez realized, probably to avoid being in there too long at once. "Wait," Jennifer said, pointing at the screen. "Go back to 10:20. He's carrying something different." Kurt rewound the footage. This time, the man held not just his toolbox but also a small shopping bag. "Can you see what's in it?" Officer Ramirez asked. Kurt zoomed in and enhanced the image as much as the system allowed. The bag was partially open, revealing what appeared to be multiple small black devices. "More cameras," Jennifer whispered. "We need to check every bathroom in this store," Dennis said, already reaching for his radio. "And we should review footage from previous days. If he hit this location, he might be hitting others," Officer Ramirez finished. "We'll need to alert all Walmart locations in the area." Officer Collins returned, slightly winded from the altercation. "Got him. James Peterson, 45, had a receiver in his car that was picking up wireless signals from the cameras, recording to a hard drive. Also had a map with 3 other Walmart locations circled." Jennifer sat down, suddenly lightheaded. "My kids use these bathrooms." "Ms. Lawson," Officer Ramirez said gently, "your attention to detail potentially stopped a major crime. Without you noticing that camera, he might have installed dozens more." In the following hours, Jennifer provided a formal statement at the police station. The investigation revealed that James Peterson had installed similar cameras in 2 other Walmart locations in neighboring counties. His hard drive contained hundreds of videos, some dating back months from other stores, suggesting this wasn't his first operation. Word spread quickly through Meadowbrook. The local news ran the story that evening, praising the alert shopper who had discovered the cameras. They didn't name Jennifer at her request, but within days, everyone at her office knew the story. 2 weeks later, Jennifer received a letter from Walmart's corporate security division, thanking her and offering a $5,000 gift card as appreciation. She donated it to a local women's shelter, but the ordeal left lasting effects. Jennifer couldn't use public restrooms without checking every corner, every unusual fixture, every potential hiding place. She installed security cameras at her home and taught her teenage sons to be vigilant about their surroundings. She jumped when strangers walked too close in store aisles. 3 months after the incident, Jennifer was shopping at the same Walmart. She had refused to let the experience rob her of normalcy when a woman approached her in the cereal aisle. "Excuse me," the woman said quietly. "Are you the one who found those cameras?" Jennifer hesitated before nodding slightly. The woman's eyes filled with tears. "My 6-year-old daughter used that bathroom that morning. The police contacted us after identifying her from the footage." She struggled to continue. "I just wanted to say thank you. They told us the videos were intercepted before they could be distributed." Jennifer embraced the stranger, both women crying in the middle of the busy store. "The bathroom is just the beginning," the woman whispered as they separated. They found cameras in the changing rooms too, and in the ceiling above the children's department They think he had help, someone who still works here. Jennifer's blood ran cold. Did they catch this other person? Not yet, but they're watching the employees, especially the ones who were working when you reported it. The woman glanced around nervously. Just be careful. My husband works for the company that's handling the security upgrades. He says they found evidence the cameras were accessed remotely, not just by the receiver in that man's car. As the woman walked away, Jennifer noticed Ashley stocking shelves nearby, watching their interaction with an unreadable expression. When their eyes met, Ashley quickly looked down. That night, Jennifer installed additional locks on her doors and windows. She checked her son's computers for unfamiliar software and changed all her passwords. She researched the case obsessively, learning that Peterson had worked as a security system installer before being fired for inappropriate conduct. What the news didn't report, what Jennifer learned through a sympathetic police officer, was that Peterson maintained he was just a technician, hired through an online job board to install equipment for a company called Retail Metrics. He claimed he never viewed the footage himself, just installed the hardware and maintained the receivers. The company didn't exist. The email address and phone number Peterson had led to dead ends. The money he'd been paid came through untraceable cryptocurrency transactions. Someone else was behind it all. Someone who might still be watching, waiting, planning their next move. Someone who knew Jennifer had been the one to spot their cameras. Every time she shops now, Jennifer studies the faces around her, wondering if one of them belongs to the person who orchestrated the operation, the person who might recognize her as the woman who disrupted their network. She takes different routes home, varies her routines, parks under security cameras, and whenever she uses a public restroom, she carefully inspects every wall, every fixture, every ceiling tile, knowing that somewhere, in some bathroom she hasn't checked yet, a small black lens might be watching, recording, transmitting images to someone waiting patiently for their next opportunity. Nathan Reed squinted against the harsh glow of the Walmart Supercenter's exterior lights. The massive store loomed like an island in a sea of asphalt, its parking lot still two-thirds full despite the late hour. It was nearly 10 p.m. on a Friday in August, and the evening heat lingered over Ridgewood, Arizona, like a damp blanket. "Do we really need to do this tonight?" Olivia asked from the passenger seat, scrolling through the shopping list on her phone. After 8 hours, managing the front desk at Desert Palms Medical Center, her patience had worn thin. "We could go tomorrow morning instead." "Emma's soccer tournament starts at 7, Nathan reminded her, navigating their Honda Odyssey past rows of cars, searching for a spot not too distant from the entrance. "And we need to get Caleb's prescription refilled tonight. The pharmacy closes at 11. In the back seat, 6-year-old Caleb pressed his face against the window, fogging the glass with his breath. His sister Emma, 15, and perpetually annoyed at family outings, didn't look up from her phone. "Found one," Nathan said, spotting an empty space near a cart return. He pulled in and killed the engine. "Quick in and out, 30 minutes tops." The family gathered their things, Olivia her purse, Emma her reluctant presents, Nathan his wallet, and Caleb his stuffed dinosaur, Rex, that accompanied him everywhere. The parking lot was well lit, but sprawling, requiring a short walk to the entrance. "Stay close, Caleb," Olivia called as her son skipped ahead, Rex clutched tightly in his small hand. Nathan locked the van and pocketed the keys. "Emma, eyes up from the phone while we're walking, please." Emma sighed dramatically but complied, slipping her phone into her back pocket. As they walked, Nathan noticed a white panel van, parked haphazardly across two spaces about 30 yards ahead, near their path to the entrance. Its engine was running, exhaust visible in the cool glow of the overhead lights. Something about the van made Nathan uneasy. He placed a protective hand on Caleb's shoulder, slowing their pace slightly. "Let's cut through this way," he suggested, nodding toward a different row of cars. "But Dad, the entrance is right there," Emma protested, pointing straight ahead. Before Nathan could respond, two men emerged from between parked cars, just ahead of them. They wore dark hoodies despite the heat, hands thrust deep in their pockets. They separated slightly, positioning themselves directly in the family's path. Nathan felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He tightened his grip on Caleb's shoulder and extended his other arm instinctively toward Olivia and Emma. "Evening, folks," the taller man said, his voice surprisingly cordial. "Hate to bother you, but we seem to have a problem with our van. Battery's dead. Could you help us out?" Nathan glanced toward the idling van. "Your van is running fine." The man's demeanor shifted instantly. "All right, let's skip the bullshit. Give us your wallets, phones, and jewelry. Now, no one needs to get hurt." The second man had circled slightly behind them. When Nathan turned to track him, he caught a glimpse of something metallic in the man's hand. A knife, or perhaps a gun partially concealed by his sleeve. "We have children," Olivia said, her voice steady but tight with fear. She pulled Emma close to her side. "Please, take what you want and leave us alone." Nathan felt Caleb trembling against his leg. The boy clutched Rex tighter, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "That's what we're trying to do, lady," the first man said, extending his hand. "Purse, now." Nathan made a quick calculation. They were in a busy parking lot. The Walmart entrance was less than 100 yards away. People were coming and going. Surely someone would notice if he shouted for help. As if reading his thoughts, the second man moved closer, now clearly displaying a pistol. "Don't even think about it, hero. This will go bad fast." Nathan raised one hand slowly, while keeping the other on Caleb. Okay, we'll cooperate." He turned slightly toward Olivia. "Give them what they want, honey." Olivia unhooked her purse from her shoulder, with shaking hands. Emma stood frozen beside her mother, tears silently streaming down her face. The first man snatched the purse roughly. "Phones and wallet too, all of them." Nathan slowly reached for his back pocket. As he did, a loud crash came from several rows over, someone dropping bottles in the parking lot. The sound startled everyone, including the second robber, whose finger twitched against the trigger of his gun. The shot cracked through the night air like a whip. Nathan felt something hot and wet spray across his face. For one suspended moment, he couldn't process what had happened. Then Olivia screamed, a primal, shattering sound. Emma collapsed to the asphalt, a dark stain spreading rapidly across her blue t-shirt. "No!" Nathan lunged toward his daughter as Olivia dropped to her knees beside her. Fuck! The second man shouted, staring in horror at the gun in his hand. "I didn't mean to." "We gotta go now," the first man ordered, grabbing his partner's arm. They ran toward the idling van, leaving the family huddled on the ground. Nathan tore off his shirt, pressing it against the wound in Emma's chest, but the fabric soaked through almost immediately. Her wide eyes found his, confused and terrified. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice small and wet. "Someone help us," Olivia screamed toward the store. "Our daughter's been shot. Help us." People were turning now, pointing, some running toward them, others backing away in fear. Caleb stood paralyzed, still clutching Rex, watching his sister's blood pool beneath her on the dark asphalt. Call 911, Nathan shouted to anyone who would listen. A woman nearby was already on her phone, her face pale as she reported the emergency. The van's engine revved loudly. The driver had circled back around and was speeding toward the exit, but a Walmart security vehicle had pulled across the lane, attempting to block them. The van swerved violently to avoid the collision, careening instead into a row of parked cars, with a sickening crash of metal and breaking glass. Background noise faded for Nathan as he focused entirely on Emma. Her eyes had grown unfocused, her breathing shallow and irregular. "Stay with us, Em," he pleaded, applying more pressure to the wound. "Help is coming. Just stay with us." Olivia was on her knees, cradling Emma's head in her lap, her fingers combing through their daughter's hair. my baby," she repeated, rocking slightly. Distant sirens grew louder. Someone, a middle-aged man in a Walmart vest, was now beside them, helping Nathan maintain pressure on the wound. "I was an army medic," he explained tersely. "The ambulance is 3 minutes out." But Emma's eyes had stopped tracking movement. Her breathing came in sporadic gasps. "Emma, please," Nathan begged, his vision blurred by tears. "Please stay with us." The last breath left Emma's body as the first police car screeched into the parking lot, its lights painting the scene in pulses of red and blue. What followed was chaos and nightmare. Paramedics worked feverishly, but ultimately shook their heads. Police secured the area with yellow tape. The men from the van were pulled from the wreckage and handcuffed, one unconscious, one screaming about how it was an accident. He never meant to shoot anyone. Nathan sat on the curb, unable to process reality. Olivia held Caleb tightly against her chest, his small face buried in her neck, his body racked with sobs he didn't fully understand. Rex the dinosaur lay forgotten on the asphalt, one soft leg soaking up Emma's blood. Days blurred together after that night. The funeral, the news reports, the police interviews, the men's names, Tyler Grayson and Marcus Holt, burned into Nathan's memory forever. The revelation that they were cousins, both with prior convictions for petty theft, now facing felony murder charges. The knowledge that they had robbed 3 other families in similar parking lots across the city, but had never fired their weapon before. 1 month after Emma's death, the Reeds returned to the Walmart. Not to shop. They couldn't imagine ever doing that again. But because the community had organized a memorial. Hundreds gathered at the spot where Emma had died. The store manager unveiled a small garden created in the median near the entrance, with a plaque bearing Emma's name and the words, "Her light continues to shine." People placed flowers and candles. Teachers from Emma's high school spoke about her kindness and potential. Her soccer teammates wore their uniforms and laid a team jersey among the tributes. The Reeds stood together, a family permanently incomplete. Nathan kept his arm around Olivia, who held Caleb's hand. The boy still carried Rex everywhere, now clean but forever a reminder of that night. As the ceremony concluded, a woman approached them hesitantly. Nathan recognized her as the one who had called 911. "I just wanted to say," she began, then faltered. "I was parked right over there. I saw everything. I've been in counseling ever since." She wiped at her eyes. "I keep thinking, what if I had left the store 5 minutes earlier? What if I had been walking near you? Could I have done something?" Nathan had no answers for her. The same questions haunted his own sleepless nights. 6 months later, they moved from Arizona to Pennsylvania, unable to remain in a place where every trip to a store, every parking lot, every police siren triggered unbearable memories. They sold the Odyssey. Olivia couldn't bear to look at it, and bought a different model in a different color. The trial came a year later. The Reeds flew back to Arizona to attend every day of it. They sat silently as Marcus Holt, the shooter, took the stand and tearfully explained how he'd never intended to fire the weapon, how he didn't even know it was loaded when his cousin gave it to him, how he only wanted to scare people into giving up their valuables. When the verdicts came, guilty for both men, with Marcus receiving 25 years to life for second-degree murder, Nathan felt no satisfaction, only emptiness. That night in their hotel room, Caleb, now 7, asked a question that shattered Nathan anew. Is the bad man being punished going to bring Emma back? 2 years after the shooting, Nathan found himself involuntarily calculating what grade Emma would be in now, what colleges she might be considering, whether she would have kept playing soccer or moved on to other interests. Olivia caught him once, staring at Emma's childhood height marks on the doorframe of their new home, which they had carefully cut out and brought with them from Arizona. I do it too, she admitted, wrapping her arms around him from behind. I imagine her at 17, learning to drive. I hear songs on the radio and think about how she would dance to them. The Reeds never shopped at Walmart again. They avoided large parking lots at night. Nathan installed a security system in their new home that some friends gently suggested was excessive. Olivia checked on Caleb multiple times each night. They both attended support groups for parents who had lost children to violence. During one session, another grieving father asked Nathan if he would have done anything differently that night. Everything, Nathan answered without hesitation. I would have gone shopping the next morning. I would have parked somewhere else. I would have turned around when I saw that van. I would have given them everything immediately. I would have thrown myself in front of that bullet. 3 years after Emma's death, the Reeds received a letter from Marcus Holt. He had found religion in prison, he wrote. He wanted them to know how sorry he was, how he prayed for their forgiveness, how he thought about Emma every day. Nathan read it once, then burned it in the backyard while Olivia watched. They never responded. On what would have been Emma's 18th birthday, the Reeds and Caleb released 18 lanterns into the night sky. The boy, now 9, understood more about what had happened to his sister. He sometimes talked about her to his new friends, explaining matter-of-factly that she had been killed by bad men when he was little. Sometimes I can't remember what she looked like, he confessed to Nathan one night. Is that bad? No, buddy, Nathan assured him, though his heart broke anew. That's why we have pictures. 5 years after the shooting, Nathan still couldn't drive past a Walmart without his heart racing, his palms sweating. Olivia still trembled at the sound of fireworks or car backfires. Caleb still slept with Rex the dinosaur, though he would never admit it to his friends. The Reeds had learned to live with their grief, to carry it like a familiar weight. They had learned that horror doesn't always lurk in haunted houses or come from supernatural sources. Sometimes it emerges on ordinary nights in well-lit places, from ordinary men with ordinary weapons, leaving extraordinary pain that no prison sentence can ever erase. And sometimes, when night falls and the house grows quiet, Nathan still hears Emma's voice calling him, Daddy, one last time, still feels the impossible weight of her blood soaking through his shirt, still wonders what could have been if they'd simply gone shopping the next morning instead. Ethan Miller had worked the evening shift at Register 7 in the Chestnut Grove Walmart for almost 3 years. At 26, it wasn't his dream job, but the steady paycheck helped cover his community college tuition and kept a roof over his head. Most days blurred together in a monotonous stream of beeping scanners, rustling plastic bags, and scripted customer interactions. Tonight was his Friday, the last in a 5-day stretch before 2 blessed days off. The wall clock read 10:42 p.m., less than 20 minutes until the store closed. Ethan watched as the night manager, Dale Winters, began the closing announcements, his voice crackling over the intercom system. Attention Walmart shoppers. The time is now 10:45. Our store will be closing in 15 minutes. Please bring your final selections to the registers. Only 3 registers remained open. Ethan's and 2 others operated by Marissa and Kevin, both already counting down their tills in preparation for closing. Ethan had 2 customers left, an elderly man purchasing antacids and cough drops, and behind him, a woman with a cart piled high with what looked like enough groceries for a month. Ethan suppressed a groan. The woman was on her phone, gesturing animatedly as she spoke, seemingly oblivious to the closing announcements or the fact that her massive order would keep Ethan well past 11:02. He recognized her vaguely. Patricia Kendrick, a semi-regular, who'd had complaints about pricing or coupons on at least 2 previous occasions. The elderly man paid and shuffled away, leaving Patricia next in line. She continued her phone conversation as she haphazardly unloaded items onto the conveyor belt, still talking loudly into her headset. "Ma'am, would you like bags for your items?" Ethan asked, following the script he'd repeated thousands of times. Patricia ignored him, continuing her conversation. "And I told him that's absolutely unacceptable. The contractor promised the tile would be installed by Wednesday, and here we are on Friday with nothing but excuses." "Excuse me, ma'am?" Ethan tried again, slightly louder. "Would you like your items bagged?" Patricia glanced at him, irritation flashing across her face. She covered her microphone briefly. "Obviously, I want bags. Why wouldn't I want bags?" She returned to her call without waiting for a response. Ethan began scanning her items, his movements efficient from years of practice. He'd learned to tune out difficult customers, to keep a neutral expression, regardless of how they behaved. 19 more minutes, and he could go home, microwave some leftovers, and collapse into bed. The intercom crackled again. "Attention shoppers. Walmart will be closing in 10 minutes. Please bring your final purchases to the registers at this time." Patricia's cart was massive. At least 60 items ranging from groceries to household supplies to clothing. Ethan maintained his steady pace, but as the pile of unscanned merchandise dwindled, he noticed a problem. Several clothing items still had security tags attached. "Ma'am," he said, holding up a blouse with a bulky plastic tag. "These items still have security tags. I'll need to call someone to remove them." Patricia, still on her call, waved dismissively as if to say, "Handle it." Ethan pressed his register's assistance button, knowing it might be several minutes before anyone responded. The night shift was skeletal, with most employees focused on restocking and closing procedures. 5 minutes passed. A line had formed behind Patricia. 4 customers, all with just a few items, all checking their watches repeatedly. Ethan caught Kevin's eye from Register 5, who shrugged sympathetically. Marissa had already closed her till. "Attention Walmart shoppers. The time is now 10:55. The store will be closing in 5 minutes. Please bring your final purchases to the registers immediately." Patricia finally ended her call and seemed to notice the situation for the first time. "Why are all these clothes piled up? I need to get going." "I'm waiting for someone to remove the security tags, ma'am," Ethan explained. "I've called for assistance." "Well, call again. This is ridiculous. I have places to be." "I understand, but we're closing soon and that's not my problem," Patricia interrupted, her voice rising. "I was shopping well before closing time. It's your job to check me out efficiently." A weary-looking woman behind Patricia spoke up. "Some of us just have a couple things. Maybe we could go first while you're waiting?" Patricia turned, eyes flashing. "Absolutely not. I've been in line and I'm not losing my place because they're understaffed." Dale approached from the customer service desk, security tag remover in hand. Sorry for the wait, folks. Let's get these tags off and get everyone checked out. As Dale worked on the tags, Ethan continued scanning the remaining items. The register displayed a total of $347.82. That can't be right, Patricia said immediately. I wasn't spending that much. Ethan began the tedious process of reviewing the items on screen. The organic beef was $21.97. The Tide Pods were $19.86. I had digital coupons for those, Patricia interrupted. Check my account. Ethan entered her phone number, finding only 2 active coupons totaling $3.50 in savings. I'm only seeing 2 coupons, ma'am. Impossible. I loaded at least 10 this morning. Let me speak to a manager. Dale, still removing security tags, sighed quietly. I'm the manager on duty, ma'am. What seems to be the problem? What followed was 10 minutes of Patricia insisting she had loaded specific coupons, Dale patiently explaining the digital coupon system, and the line behind them, growing increasingly restless. The store was now officially closed. The lights dimmed to indicate closing time, but Walmart policy prohibited turning away customers already in line. Can I just pay for my stuff? The woman behind Patricia pleaded. I just need milk and bread. We need to resolve this transaction first, Dale explained apologetically. Store policy. At 11:12 p.m., Patricia's transaction was finally completed. After removing several items she decided she didn't want at full price. As Ethan handed her the receipt, Patricia snatched it, examining the charges with narrowed eyes. You still overcharged me, she declared. These grapes were advertised at $2.97, not $3.49. Dale, reaching the end of his patience, offered to walk to the produce section to verify the price. Another 5-minute delay, while the remaining customers shifted from foot to foot, checking phones and watches. When Dale returned, confirming the grapes were indeed $3.49, Patricia's face flushed with anger. This is false advertising. I specifically came for those grapes because of the price in your app. The app sometimes shows regional pricing that may not match this specific store, Dale explained, his customer service voice strained. I apologize for the confusion. This is absolutely unacceptable, Patricia said, voice rising. I want a full refund, all of it, now. The woman behind her groaned audibly. Ma'am, processing a full refund would take at least, Ethan began. I don't care. Your store has wasted enough of my time with incompetence. Either refund everything, or I'm calling corporate tomorrow. Dale nodded to Ethan. Process the refund, please. Ethan began the lengthy procedure of processing a return for the entire transaction, scanning the receipt, preparing for the system to require each item to be scanned again. Patricia stood glaring, arms crossed, while the other customers looked increasingly desperate. I have to pick up my kid from the babysitter, one man said, checking his watch. It's already 11:20. Sir, you're welcome to leave your items and come back tomorrow, Dale offered. That's a 15-minute drive each way, the man protested. As the situation deteriorated, Ethan noticed Patricia's expression changing from anger to something else. A small, satisfied smile playing at the corners of her mouth. She was enjoying this, he realized with sudden clarity. The disruption, the attention, the power of keeping everyone waiting. It wasn't about the coupons or prices at all. Something in Ethan, some dam constructed of customer service training, retail politeness, and basic survival instincts, quietly cracked. You're doing this on purpose, he said, his voice low but perfectly audible in the tense silence. Patricia's eyes widened in theatrical offense. Excuse me? You know exactly what you're doing. You come in right before closing with a massive order, create problems, waste everyone's time. You enjoy making people miserable. Ethan, Dale warned sharply. Ethan couldn't stop. 3 years of swallowed responses, of The customer is always right, of being treated as a faceless service automaton rather than a human being. It all came pouring out. People like you think retail workers aren't real people with lives and families waiting for them. You think your time is the only time that matters. Patricia's face contorted with rage. How dare you speak to me like that? I want your full name. I'm reporting you to corporate immediately. Ethan Miller, he said, no longer caring. Miller. Be sure to spell it right in your complaint. That's enough, Dale intervened, physically stepping between them. Ethan, take your break now. My shift ends in 20 minutes, Ethan replied, suddenly eerily calm. Take it now, Dale repeated, his voice leaving no room for argument. As Ethan turned to walk away, Patricia called after him. You'll never work in retail again when I'm finished with you, Ethan Miller. Something in her tone, the absolute certainty, the malicious pleasure, made Ethan pause. He turned back, slowly. What exactly do you do, Ms. Kendrick? Patricia smiled coldly. I'm on the regional management team for Astor Corp Retail Solutions. The name hit Ethan like a physical blow. Astor Corp was the consulting firm Walmart had hired for their upcoming efficiency restructuring, the mysterious project that had store employees whispering about mass layoffs for weeks. Patricia Kendrick wasn't just any difficult customer. She potentially held Ethan's professional future in her manicured hands. That's what I thought, Patricia said, reading the recognition on his face. Let's see how community college works out when you can't pay tuition, Ethan. The remaining customers looked on uncomfortably as the confrontation took this darker turn. Even Dale seemed momentarily stunned into silence. In that moment, something fundamental changed in Ethan Miller. Later, he would describe it as watching himself from a distance, as if his consciousness had stepped 3 feet to the left while his body continued moving. Ms. Kendrick, he said calmly, could I speak with you privately for a moment? I think there's been a misunderstanding. Patricia's triumph visibly swelled. I think you've said quite enough already. Please, Ethan insisted. Just a quick word by customer service. I have information about the restructuring that might interest you. Curiosity flickered across Patricia's face. After a moment's consideration, she nodded curtly and followed Ethan toward the customer service desk, separated from the registers by a short hallway, leading to the restrooms and employee break room. Dale resumed processing the refund, while the remaining customers watched the departure with palpable relief. What happened in the next 4 minutes would later be reconstructed from security footage, though the cameras didn't capture audio. Patricia followed Ethan down the hallway, her posture rigid with righteous indignation. Ethan spoke to her, gesturing toward the break room door, which stood slightly ajar. Patricia hesitated, then preceded him into the room. The break room camera showed them entering. There appeared to be a heated exchange, Patricia gesturing emphatically, Ethan standing very still. Then Patricia turned toward the door, apparently ending the conversation. Ethan moved quickly to the refrigerator, removing something, later determined to be a glass bottle of iced coffee, and in one fluid motion, brought it down against the side of Patricia's head. She crumpled immediately. Ethan stood over her for exactly 17 seconds, according to the timestamp, then methodically dragged her into the employee bathroom, adjacent to the break room. This area had no camera coverage. At 11:37 p.m., Ethan returned to Register 7, his uniform shirt slightly damp, but otherwise appearing normal. He processed the remaining customers in silence. No small talk, no eye contact, while Dale handled Patricia's abandoned refund. At 11:52 p.m., Ethan clocked out. He nodded to Dale, who was closing the last register, and walked to the employee exit. At 12:14 a.m., a custodial worker discovered Patricia Kendrick's body in the employee bathroom. The glass bottle had shattered on impact, severing her carotid artery. Blood covered the tile floor, pooled around drains designed for easy cleaning. The workers' screams brought Dale running. By then, Ethan Miller was 17 miles away, driving south on Interstate 95 in his 2012 Honda Civic. When police arrived at his apartment at 1:35 a.m., they found it empty, except for a neatly handwritten note on the kitchen counter. Some customers don't deserve service with a smile. What followed became national news: the 3-state manhunt for the Walmart killer, the discovery that Patricia Kendrick had filed HR complaints against 16 retail employees in the past year, resulting in 11 terminations, the revelation that Ethan had been researching her for weeks, tracking her shopping patterns, preparing for a confrontation. Most disturbing to investigators was the journal found hidden beneath Ethan's mattress, documenting every slight, every dismissive comment, every dehumanizing interaction he'd experienced in 3 years of retail work. The final entry, dated the day before the murder, contained a single line: "At some point, you have to stand up for yourself." Ethan Miller was captured 3 days later at a bus station in Atlanta, still wearing his Walmart vest beneath his jacket, as if he'd forgotten to remove it. He offered no resistance, no explanation. His vacant expression in the mugshot circulated worldwide became an unsettling symbol of what psychologists termed retail rage syndrome, the accumulation of small humiliations until something inside simply breaks. In the months that followed, retail workers across the country reported a noticeable change in customer behavior: less entitlement, more basic courtesy. Security was enhanced at Walmart locations nationwide. Training programs emphasized employee mental health and de-escalation techniques. Dale Winters quit his management position and became an advocate for retail worker rights. The other customers present that night formed an unlikely support group, appearing together on talk shows to discuss how witnessing the incident had changed their perspective on service workers. And in courtrooms and living rooms across America, people debated the uncomfortable question at the heart of the case: how many times can you treat a person as less than human before they prove you terrifyingly right?